One of the facts of COVID which the world has had to accept is that there is no normal. Just when you believe that life is returning to normal, the COVID infection has by and large gone away, comes a new mutation or a new substrain, positivity rates soar, and there's a great deal of suffering. And it appears to be happening in parts of India once again. The positivity rate in Delhi, 18%. There is a new substrain which has apparently been detected. What does this all mean? Joining us now, Dr. N.K. Arora, who is a key part of the COVID task force in India. Dr. Arora, thanks very much for being with us. Delhi's positivity rate hitting 18%. But is the real fear now that we don't really know the numbers, the actual positivity rate, because people aren't doing as many RT-PCR tests? People prefer home tests, and people don't test at all in many cases.
Thank you very much, Som. You are absolutely right. Currently, the last 3 months or so, the testing has gone down all over the country. Globally also, because overall the seriousness of the illness is much less. Very few people get severe illness. And therefore, while positivity rate 18% looks quite frightening to say the least, but I think the parameter to look at currently is to see hospital admission rates and associated mortality due to COVID. And this is true not only for Delhi, but the whole country. Right. And globally also, because with the onset of Omicron and last 2-3 months, the Omicron has not been so virulent. And in India, we know the hospitalization rates is very low, because positivity rate keeps on varying depending on the number of tests. And you very rightly said, if in a family, if one is positive and others are also having similar symptoms, many of us do not get tested at the moment. So from an epidemiological point of view, positivity rate at this time is not so important as the importance of number of beds number of patients requiring hospitalization.
Dr. Arora, is it endemic now, COVID in India?
I couldn't get the question. Can you repeat it, please?
Yeah, so is COVID endemic in India, that it's always going to be around in some way, shape or form?
No, Delhi, COVID is all over the country. And today, initially it was concentrated around metro cities. Let's go back to March, April, May, that it was around big cities, Mumbai, Bangalore, in Kerala.
No, I know, sir, but is it here to stay? Is it endemic?
Now, this question of endemic city and epidemic state, I think we should still not debate too much on this, because I will tell you, and it is very important to understand that in January, February, March last year, there were several sublineages or subvariants circulating in the country, 2021. And then suddenly Delta comes, and then it is a wave, and it just sweeps away the whole country and globally also. We are seeing very similar kind of a situation for 5-6 months, and particularly last 3 months, there are several sublineages circulating, whether it is B5 and its sublineage, B2 and its sublineages. Mostly these are the two ones. And within B2, you must have heard about 38, 75, 76, yes. 12.1, recombinant. So there are 7-8 sublineages circulating, but there is no clustering. So one is careful, and the surveillance, INSACOG surveillance is very particularly looking at that if there is anything anywhere, suddenly if there is an increased virulence of the virus seen. That is the most important thing at this point.
No, sir, I understand that. And obviously, a lot of these strains, and by the grace of God, is not as bad as what we've seen in the past. And hospital beds, etc., admissions, etc., identify that. But my question is, sir, you know, our lives have changed. Your life has changed. My life has changed with COVID. 5 years down the road, are we still going to be having COVID around us? It might be mild. It may not be mild.
Okay. So answer to that question is we should wait for another few months. I've been saying that around till December.
Why do you say a few months, sir? What is going to change in a few months?
Yes, I'll tell you. Because one needs to be, for last 6 months, we haven't got a sublineage which is virulent. We need to look and wait. Nobody can predict that. But if generally 8 to 9 months pass and there are no sublineage which causes serious disease, I think as a public health person, I'll be more comfortable and kind of say, let's open up to normalcy.
Okay. Is the new COVID mutation in Delhi more infectious?
No, all the new whatever we are seeing in Delhi, we are seeing B275, 76, we are seeing B238. We are also looking some BA5 and its sublineages. So it's a mixture. As compared to the basic Omicron, these are more infectious. And we know now if one person gets infection within the house, almost certainly everybody, elderly as well as children, everybody gets infected. So infectiousness is very much there. It is about 20 to 30% more as compared to the base Omicron virus. But as you rightly said, fortunately, these are not causing severe disease.
Sir, what strain specifically is 20 to 30% more infectious?
Oh, like B5.
B5.
And B5 and B2 certain strains like B38, B238, B75, 76. These are 20-30% more infectious as compared to the B2 standard Omicron strain.
Sir, and that raises the important question, are the vaccines working against this strain?
So, again, we have discussed about it. All the vaccines currently available do not prevent infection, number one. Number two, symptomatic infection also keeps on occurring with some degree of benefit. The most important benefit vaccine is providing us is protection against severe disease. And that we very clearly see that.
So, this is important. Now, I know by now, and we've discussed this at least 10 times in the past or 15 times in the past, is that vaccines are useful because they prevent severe disease, migration to severe disease. But what you're saying is that in this case, B5, B2, and some strains, the vaccines do not prevent the infection at all. As I understood it.
No, that is not. It does. All the vaccines are effective only to the extent of 30%, maybe maximum 40% of preventing infection. Now we have another advantage. There is a background, very high natural infection rate also. We have got that also, our population. So that also prevents. So there are no studies at the moment, but certainly not more than 30-40% efficacy of current situation to prevent infection.
Okay, I'm going to repeat it so that I get the facts right. 30 to 40% efficacy of the existing vaccines in preventing an infection with the strains that we've discussed, right?
Yes.
Now, how does that compare with Omicron?
Omicron is, I'm talking about currently with Omicron only.
So we are talking about Omicron sublineages.
I'm talking about sublineages.
But say 5 months back when these sublineages were not there, and it was just the initial strain of Omicron, whatever the designation was, how much more effective were vaccines? Did they offer, say, 60% chance of not getting an infection, 50%?
Okay. So you are basically asking the vaccine capability of these current sublineages as compared to the previous ones.
Correct.
I think that is what you are asking.
Correct, sir.
So I would say that if it was about 40% or 50% protection at the beginning of Omicron, now it has become 30 to 40. So it's a decline of about 20 to 30% efficacy of a vaccine to prevent infection. That is how I will look at it.
Yeah. That's so important to know, sir. Now, how widespread around the world are these sublineages? Is this mostly in India now, this extremely virulent version?
There is, and I don't use the word virulent. I would not say anything virulent at the moment, Omicron. And there is a context specificity also. B5 in India has not been able to spread as rapidly as it is spread in North America and Europe. Yeah, and there are no clustering of the effects. Similarly, with B5 and at some places with B275 and 76, there were concerns that it is associated with severe disease, but fortunately that has not happened. So it is important that context where we are talking about is very important. In India, none of these sublineages have been able to spread rapidly as well as cause severe disease. So I would absolutely say, please do not use the word virulent. Virulent means severe disease.
Got it. Thanks for that clarification. Next question, will boosters help fight against this new substrain or these new substrains?
So now the question is, we are talking about precaution dose.
Yes.
And precaution dose in a context where two doses have been given, where the natural infection is there, it provides additional protection in terms of severe disease. It is also, we must understand one very important thing. Today we have, if we suddenly get a virulent virus, now I am talking about if we suddenly get a virulent virus, do we have anything else with us? Only if additional or a precaution dose or a booster dose is the only option. Because after 6 months, there may be some components of the immune system remaining intact, but circulating antibodies certainly decline.
Right.
And that is boosted when I take a precaution dose.
Right.
When I talk about precaution or booster dose, it is not only for today, it is an insurance for anything coming in future, in next few months. If something happens, I think we should be prepared for that. And from that perspective, these precaution dose or booster dose are extremely important. We have nothing else at the moment. So this is the only option available for us and globally also.
The Chief Justice of India today in the Supreme Court told lawyers and litigants, please wear a mask, people are falling unwell. The Delhi government, I think, has reintroduced a 500 rupee. They had the fine, but they've now reinforcing it if you don't wear a mask. Is this the correct way forward? We need to get back to our mask protocol really fast.
So mask is certainly which influences positively the transmission of the virus, and it affects the transmission of all most of the viral infections, particularly respiratory infections. So mask is something, it will certainly bring down the transmission of virus which is going on in the city or in the country, wherever. So mask is certainly desirable. And here I must also say that from a monkeypox issue also, both hand hygiene and virus, there also, hygienic component, it is also important. So corona appropriate behavior is general desirable till we really say it's over now, so-called endemicity is there and those issues. Because some of these strains become kind of circulate more. And here, so one important thing for everybody to understand is that, for example, me, I am protected, I have a precaution dose already received, but if I have a underlying severe comorbidity, my risk of having severe disease or dying with COVID increases.
Right.
Therefore, it is important, and many of us do not realize that we have significant or serious comorbidity.
Right. Yeah, because if many people would not be aware of it. They
Yes.
haven't done their tests and checks, and sometimes that's not even possible to do. I think we've gone through some of the key points over here. It is one final question, sir, which comes to mind, and this is what friends and people who are presently infected or have just come out of it tell you, that it's not mild in the sense. I mean, it may not be severe disease. You may not land up in hospital. May not be fatal, but it's not mild. It feels terrible. There is high fever, and you feel very tired afterwards. So
Yes.
once again, people are talking about recovery taking time. Maybe you might be. I mean, in terms of fatigue, it's a serious concern. Is this anecdotal evidence
No,
accurate?
it is not anecdotal. You are absolutely right. many of us who have experienced it firsthand, we know that the sense of weakness and sense of unwellness, you don't really feel well for 8 to 10 days after the symptoms have gone, like fever is gone and cough and nasal discharge, all those gone. And it is important that one should take, first is during illness, not to take too many medicines. I think people have started taking similarly like last year, all antibiotics, etc. Just something like paracetamol is good enough for 3-4 days and that is fine. One should, because that also disturbs the gut flora and causes difficulty. So we should not take too many medicines and have good foods and green vegetables and fruits, etc. are good for faster recovery. So nothing specific is done, but as you rightly said, this feeling of illness or ill-well or unwell is there for a week or so after the person recovers.
All right, Dr. Arora, thanks very much for sharing that information with us. It is a bit of a worry once again, but hopefully, if people are smart, wear a mask, use a booster. If not for now, then for the future, yes, then we'll be better off.
I would underscore that point that boosters or precaution dose or vaccine in general is an insurance for future. You don't get yourself insured for today. You get it for future. And therefore, it is important that we should take precaution dose, particularly now it is when freely available. And I must say, when it was with private sector, the number of immunization centers were just few thousand. Today, it is 50, 60, 70,000. And so it is available nearer our home. And we should avail this opportunity.
All right, sir. Thank you very much, Dr. Arora. Always a pleasure speaking to you. Thanks very much indeed, sir. Thank you, sir.